Welcome to Believers Channel 2. I'm Pastor Russ. Today I'm going to be talking about Jezebel, so you don't want to miss this. It's very exciting. And I'd like to also remind you that there's a thumbs up button at the bottom. And when you hit that, it helps us a lot. And when you become a subscriber, it's very important because it not only lets you know what we're doing when, but every time somebody gets saved on our channel, you'll get credit for that in heaven. You never know how many people throughout the world get saved, and you're responsible for that. So be a part of us. And now let's get to today's message. Jezebel, a Phoenician princess in the 9th century BC. She was known for marrying Ahab, the king of Israel. And she also brought with her to Israel Baal worship, a strange god. It wasn't the God of Israel, but she brought Baal with her. And Jezebel is a name synonymous with evil. She was a very, very evil woman. She is the epitome of the wicked women of the world. Jezebel herself was a power-hungry murderess who stopped at nothing to get what she wanted. Now, she took after her father. Her father was the same exact way, power-hungry, idolater. He was everything that she became from him. So he set the example. So Jezebel brought to Israel Baal worship. Baal worship was a cult that tended to destroy manhood and drag womanhood into shame. One of her first acts was to order the extermination of the prophets of the Lord and set up Baal worship. She brought with her 450 priests of Baal and priests of Asherah. Asherah is also known as Ishtar. And these were the two gods that required worship. Idolatry. One god, Baal, wants control. He was in for power and control of everything, everybody. And he wanted innocent blood sacrificed to him. And Asherah was a big part of innocent blood being sacrificed. She pushed that like no tomorrow, and she was also a big part of changing men into women and women into men. So now we know where that came from. Way back in the 9th century and before is where that came from. And the one in charge of that is Asherah. And she does it for Baal. So Elijah prayed to his omnipotent God, the one true God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, having the false prophets slaughtered and providing an abundance of rain, because he had stopped the rain at one time for 3 years. In 1 Kings 18:16 through 46. Instead of acknowledging the awesome power of the one true God, Jezebel was enraged and vowed to kill Elijah. 1 Kings 19:1 through 2. So Elijah, he should have known better. I mean, God was standing behind him through this whole thing. He runs. He runs to hide in a cave up in the mountains because she sent her soldiers after him. As with all who defy the Lord, Jezebel and was not a pretty one. And Elijah prophesied to her what was going to happen. Although it was more gruesome than most, perhaps as an object lesson to all who set themselves up against the one true God, her doom was sure, having been prophesied by Elijah. 1 Kings 21:23. Even as she saw her death approaching And I see this all the time. I try to get people to accept Jesus. They're in their elderly years. They have problems. And I want them to accept Jesus before they lose their life. But just like Jezebel, she's seen her end coming. Death was approaching. She remained defiant to the very end. And I see that all the time. People will shake their fist at God because they're going to die. Or they'll shake their fist at God because I want to do what I want to do. I want my drugs. I want my booze. I want my sex. I want to do things my way. So they'll stay defiant right to the very end. She looked out the window of her palace. And she was on about the second floor. So she looked out the window and shouted her defiance to Jehu. Jehu was going to become king of Israel. Ahab, God was going to take him out. So Jehu would become king. So she's yelling this to Jehu. And he's giving the word, go ahead and kill her. So she was sitting in the window on the second floor, and they pushed her out. Down below were wild dogs, and they just ripped her to shreds. And the key note here is you can't come against God as bad as she did and expect to have a pleasant death. And it's not going to happen. Her death was terrible. It was to be a lesson to all those watching. I mean, these dogs ripped her to pieces and ate her. So it wasn't a pleasant thing. In this time and age, we see people coming against the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and God takes them out. And it's quick. So are there the Jezebel spirit in the world? There is. There's a Jezebel spirit in every government. You'll see women in government try to take over because they got a Jezebel spirit on them. Ahab got tired of hearing her. He said, here, you can have it. So she took the government and brought her gods in. God was infuriated because Ahab turned his kingdom over to a woman idolater. Now, it's one of the signs of a woman idolater. And I want you to know this goes for men too. That Jezebel spirit isn't just on women. It can be on men. Men that promote the killing of innocent blood. Jezebel, that was at the top of her list because Baal wanted innocent blood sacrificed to him. So Jezebel was in charge of that. And she promoted the sacrifice of innocent blood. We see that today in our world. We see women as governors in states who promote the sacrifice of innocent blood. It's an abomination. Anytime your government supports abominations that God hates, terrible things are going to happen. He can't let that go. Look at New York State and New York City. New York City's been destroyed. I call my relatives and tell them, don't come. Don't come to New York City because it's a very dangerous place now. It's not a good place to visit. The abomination of innocent blood. And when you promote something like that, you're coming against God, against creation, against what He stands for. And it's going to come back and bite you every time. Men do the same thing. So watch who you support. Because if you support people like this, then you're just as guilty. You're just as guilty. Abominations will fall on you. And the sin that falls on you will be judged. You will go to judgment for what you support, what you believe, what you promote. You'll face judgment. And after judgment, it'll be the lake of fire. So Jezebel is our example. God considered her very evil. But she's our example of a power-hungry person who wants to take over everything and anything. So watch who you support. Watch what you're a part of. Because if you see what you're a part of is leaning that way, get away, run. Because it's an abomination to God. God hates abominations. What you want to do is turn to God and give your life to Him right now. And believe me, if you've been involved in abominations, God will forgive you. All you have to do is ask. And I'm asking you here today to ask God to forgive you for anything that you've been a part of. All you got to do is repeat this little prayer after me. Just say, Father God, I have sinned against you. I have sinned against creation. And I am so sorry. I believe Jesus died for me. I believe His blood will wash me clean. I'm asking, Father, that you forgive me. In Yeshua Jesus' name, amen. Now you said that prayer, all's forgiven. Start over again. Start a new life. Get a relationship with the living God. Get to know Him as your friend. Now I'd like to bless you. May God bless you. May He keep you. May His face shine upon you. May His countenance lift you up every day. In Yeshua Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you.